Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where we dive into the world of rare and valuable coins that could be hiding in your collection or even in your pocket. Today, we're going to take a closer look at a fascinating coin from the United States, the 1972 Jefferson nickel. This seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece might just be one of the most exciting finds in the world of coin collecting. If you're a fan of rare coins or someone who's just getting started, make sure to stick with us, because you won't want to miss what we have to reveal about this incredible coin. Now, you might be wondering, what makes a 1972 Jefferson nickel so special? Well, this coin comes from a time in American history when the U.S. Mint was going through some changes. The 1970s were a period of experimentation, with new designs and minting techniques being tested out. But, in the case of the 1972 Jefferson nickel, there were some unexpected and rare minting errors that have made this coin extremely valuable to collectors today. These errors have set the 1972 Jefferson nickel apart, turning a simple nickel into something much more than just a piece of currency. Let's first talk about the design of the 1972 Jefferson nickel. If you're familiar with the coin, you know it features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, or front side, with the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," surrounding him. Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the author of the Declaration of Independence, has been the face of the nickel for decades. On the reverse side, you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, with the word Monticello and E pluribus unum inscribed above. The design is classic, simple, and historic, capturing the spirit of the nation, but here's the kicker. While most of the 1972 Jefferson nickels were produced without any problems, a significant number of them were struck with minting errors that make them highly collectible. There are a few key mistakes that have turned these coins into rare finds, and understanding what these errors are can help you identify whether you have a valuable 1972 Jefferson nickel in your own collection. The first major error to look out for is the double die obverse error. This is a rare mistake that happens during the coin striking process when the die used to stamp the design onto the coin shifts slightly and strikes the coin twice. This error creates a double image, making certain parts of the design appear blurry or overlapping. It's not something you would typically see in regular coins, but when you spot it, it's a surefire indicator that the coin is something special. The double die obverse error is one of the most sought-after variants of the 1972 Jefferson nickel, and coins with this error can fetch a premium price depending on their condition. Next, we have the doubled Monticello error. While this one is a bit harder to spot, it's just as valuable to collectors. The doubling in the Monticello design occurs because the coin was struck with a misaligned die, resulting in two images of Monticello appearing side by side. If you're holding a 1972 Jefferson nickel and notice a slight ghosting or doubling effect on the building's outline or the lettering, you could be holding a rare treasure in your hands. Now, beyond these errors, it's important to remember that the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. Coins in pristine, uncirculated condition are always worth more than those that have been circulated heavily. The better the condition, the higher the potential value, even if the coin doesn't have a noticeable minting error. A 1972 Jefferson nickel with minimal wear and a shiny, clean surface will naturally be worth more to a collector than one that's been through years of pocket change. When it comes to coin collecting, rarity is key. But what makes the 1972 Jefferson nickel truly exciting is the sheer scarcity of coins in excellent condition with minting errors. Most of the coins from 1972 were produced in large numbers and circulated widely, which means they're not particularly rare in the grand scheme of things. However, the ones with these distinctive errors, especially those that are well preserved, are in short supply and highly sought after by collectors. So, you might be wondering, just how much could a 1972 Jefferson nickel with these errors be worth today? Well, you're in for a surprise. Some of these rare coins, depending on the error and their condition, can fetch quite a bit of money at auction or in private sales. In fact, certain 1972 Jefferson nickels have been known to sell for up to $56,000. That's right, $56,000. It's incredible to think that a simple 5-cent piece could hold that kind of value, but for the right collector, it's a price they're willing to pay for the rarity and unique characteristics of the coin. So, whether you're a seasoned coin collector or someone just starting out, the 1972 Jefferson nickel is definitely one to keep an eye out for. If you have one in your collection, take a moment to inspect it closely, check for any errors, especially double dies or doubled Monticello designs, and evaluate its condition. You might be sitting on a rare and valuable coin without even knowing it. Before you go, remember to like this video if you found it helpful, and make sure to subscribe for more exciting coin discoveries like this one. We've got more rare and valuable coins to talk about, and you won't want to miss out. Today, as we dive into the fascinating world of the 1943 Jefferson nickel. Now, this may look like just another 5-cent piece, but trust me, there's much more to this coin than meets the eye. If you've ever wondered how a simple nickel could be worth thousands, you're about to find out why the 1943 Jefferson nickel might just be one of the most exciting and valuable coins in the world of numismatics. The 1943 Jefferson nickel is a coin that holds a very special place in American coinage history. This was the middle of World War II, a time when the United States Mint had to make some critical decisions about the materials used in producing coins. During this time, the country was dealing with a metal shortage due to the war effort, so the U.S. Mint decided to strike some nickels using an unusual material, silver. That's right, some of the 1943 nickels were made from a blend of silver, copper, and manganese, which makes them completely different from the usual copper-nickel alloy used for other Jefferson nickels. Now, why does this matter? Well, the fact that these particular nickels were made using a unique metal blend makes them highly desirable to collectors. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Most of the 1943 Jefferson nickels were made with the regular copper-nickel alloy. So, finding a 1943 nickel made with that rare silver mixture is a major discovery. This coin was only struck in limited numbers, and as you can imagine, those that remain in circulation today are incredibly rare and, therefore, extremely valuable. Now let's talk about the design. The 1943 Jefferson nickel features a profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse, or front side. His portrait, designed by Felix Schlag, has been the hallmark of the Jefferson nickel series since 1938. On the reverse side, you'll see an image of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved home in Virginia, which is a symbol of the country's founding values and history. But the value of the 1943 Jefferson nickel doesn't just come from its unique composition, it's also the rarity and condition that really drives the price up. Like most coins, the condition plays a major role in determining its worth. A 1943 nickel in mint condition, free from scratches, wear, and damage, is incredibly sought after by collectors. But there's more. Error coins from this year are also a key factor in determining value. Minting errors such as double strikes, off-center strikes, or even misprints have been found on the 1943 Jefferson nickels, and these errors only add to the coin's allure. One of the most exciting and valuable variants of the 1943 Jefferson nickel is the silver wartime nickel, which is highly prized by collectors because of its historical significance. If you find one of these rare wartime nickels in good condition, you're holding on to something special. It's not just a coin. It's a piece of American history from a critical moment during World War I. So, you might be wondering, just how much could a 1943 Jefferson nickel be worth today? Well, get ready for this. If you have a rare silver variant of the 1943 Jefferson nickel, or even a coin with minting errors in near-perfect condition, it could be worth a jaw-dropping $79,000. Yes, $79,000. This is no ordinary 5-cent piece. It's a valuable collectible that can fetch an incredible price at auction or among serious collectors. To give you an idea of how rare and valuable these coins are, consider this: most of the 1943 nickels were made using the standard copper-nickel mixture, meaning that the few silver ones that exist are extremely scarce. If you happen to come across one in your collection or in your change jar, it's time to pay close attention and inspect it carefully. But let's not forget that the value doesn't just come from the metal content or the minting errors, it's also the rarity of the condition. Most of the 1943 Jefferson nickels that have survived are heavily worn, circulated, and damaged. But the ones in excellent condition, especially those with errors or the silver mix, are the ones that can truly fetch a top price. If you find a 1943 nickel that has been preserved in a safe place, free from heavy wear and with a clear, sharp design, you might just have a real treasure on your hands. So, whether you're an experienced coin collector or just starting out, the 1943 Jefferson nickel is definitely a coin to keep your eyes peeled for. Inspect any 1943 nickels in your collection or look closely at the ones you come across. If it's in good condition and has any minting errors or signs of that silver wartime mix, you could be holding a coin worth $79,000. That's an incredible value for a coin that originally cost just 5 cents. Today, we've got an absolute treat for you as we explore the fascinating world of the 1973 Jefferson nickel. At first glance, this may seem like just another 5-cent coin, but trust me, there's more to this little nickel than you might think. If you're a lover of rare coins, or if you're simply curious about how some coins can turn into true treasures, stick with us, because what we're about to reveal will leave you amazed. The 1973 Jefferson nickel is a coin that, like many in the Jefferson series, has flown under the radar for most casual collectors. However, there's a lot more going on with this coin than meets the eye. It's a coin from an important period in American coinage, and if you look closely, you might just find a valuable piece that could be worth far more than its 5-cent face value. Let's talk about the design first. The 1973 Jefferson nickel features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag, who designed this image of the third U.S. president in 1938. Jefferson's profile graces the obverse of the coin, with the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," surrounding him. On the reverse side, you'll see an image of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia, which has been featured on the nickel since 1938 as well. The design is timeless, simple, and honors Jefferson's legacy in a beautiful way, but what makes the 1973 Jefferson nickel particularly interesting to collectors? Well, let's dive into the details that give this coin its true value. While most of the 1973 nickels were produced in large numbers and circulated widely, certain factors make them much more valuable when you find them in the right condition. One of the biggest contributing factors to the value of the 1973 Jefferson nickel is its rarity, particularly when it comes to finding error coins. Like with any coin series, the process of minting is not always perfect, and sometimes errors slip through that make a coin much more valuable. In the case of the 1973 Jefferson nickel, a few key errors and variations have made this coin stand out among collectors. Let's talk about the double die error. This is one of the most sought-after types of errors, and it occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, causing the image to be stamped twice. This error results in a blurry or slightly doubled appearance on certain parts of the coin's design, and it's something that collectors are always looking for. If you happen to find a 1973 Jefferson nickel with this error, it could be worth much more than you might expect. The double die error makes the coin unique, and collectors will pay a premium for this rare mistake. Another factor that drives the value of the 1973 Jefferson nickel is the overall condition of the coin. As with any coin, the better the condition, the higher the value. Most 1973 nickels you'll encounter will be worn from years of circulation, but a high-grade, uncirculated version of this coin is a real treasure. Coins that have been kept in pristine condition, free from scratches or damage, are always more valuable to collectors. These coins are hard to come by, and they are highly coveted by those who are looking to complete their collections with flawless examples. However, it's not just about the errors or condition, rarity is the key. Most 1973 nickels have been produced in huge quantities and circulated widely, which means that finding one in great condition or with an error is quite rare. As time goes on, the number of these coins in excellent condition becomes smaller, which increases their value. But here's the kicker: some of these 1973 Jefferson nickels, particularly those that feature minting errors, have been known to sell for as much as $66,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $66,000 for a single 5-cent piece. That's the kind of value you're looking at if you have one of these rare error coins in your collection. Now, you might be wondering, how do you know if you have a 1973 Jefferson nickel that could be worth such a large sum? The best thing you can do is take a close look at any 1973 nickels you may have. Check for the double die errors, and examine the overall condition of the coin. If you find a nickel with a slight doubling in the design or one that is in almost perfect condition, then you've got something special. Even if you don't find an error, a well-preserved 1973 Jefferson nickel can still be worth significantly more than its face value. So, whether you're an experienced collector or just starting your journey into the world of numismatics, the 1973 Jefferson nickel is one coin that deserves your attention. Keep your eyes peeled, inspect your coins carefully, and who knows, you might just have a rare, error-filled, and incredibly valuable 1973 nickel hiding in your collection. Today, we're diving into a coin that may seem familiar at first glance, but don't let its simplicity fool you. We're talking about the 1964 Jefferson nickel, a coin that holds a unique place in the history of U.S. coinage and has the potential to be worth far more than its face value. So, if you're a collector or someone who's always on the lookout for hidden treasures, stick around, because you're about to learn why this particular 5-cent coin could be worth a small fortune. The 1964 Jefferson nickel is part of a long-running series of nickels that have featured the likeness of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. Designed by Felix Schlag, Jefferson's profile has graced the nickel since 1938. On the obverse of the coin, you'll see Jefferson's portrait surrounded by the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." On the reverse side, you'll find the iconic image of Monticello, Jefferson's plantation home in Virginia, which is also featured on the coin to honor his legacy and his contributions to the nation. But here's where things get interesting. While the 1964 Jefferson nickel seems like an ordinary piece of currency, it's actually part of a very special year in American coinage history. The 1960s were a period of significant change in the U.S. Mint, and the 1964 Jefferson nickel is a key example of how small differences can make a coin much more valuable. The coin was struck during a time of transition, as the U.S. was shifting away from using certain metals in coin production. However, it wasn't just the change in materials that made the 1964 nickel stand out, it was the rarity of certain error varieties that have since become incredibly sought after by collectors. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1964 Jefferson nickel is the potential for minting errors. These errors can make a coin incredibly valuable, and the 1964 nickel is no exception. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the striking process, and the result is a coin that is not quite like the rest. Some of the most valuable 1964 Jefferson nickels come from these very errors, which is why collectors keep a sharp eye out for these rare variants. Let's take a look at one of the most famous and valuable errors, the double die obverse. This happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts during the minting process, causing the image to be stamped twice, resulting in a blurry or doubled appearance. On the 1964 Jefferson nickel, this error typically shows up on Jefferson's portrait and the letters around the coin. If you have a 1964 Jefferson nickel with this double die error, you could be holding a true treasure in your hands. The doubled design gives the coin a unique look, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for these rare varieties. Another error to look out for is the misaligned die error. This occurs when the die doesn't line up properly during the minting process, causing the design to be stamped off-center. The result is a coin with uneven or distorted images, which can make it highly collectible. While misaligned die errors aren't as common as the double die variety, they still add significant value to the coin. If you come across a 1964 Jefferson nickel with an off-center design, it's worth checking to see if it has any additional characteristics that might make it even more valuable. While errors are a key factor in determining the value of the 1964 Jefferson nickel, the condition of the coin is just as important. Most 1964 nickels were heavily circulated, which means they are often worn down and damaged from years of handling. However, if you're lucky enough to find a 1964 nickel in mint condition, meaning it has been well preserved and shows minimal wear, it could be worth much more than its face value. Coins that are in uncirculated condition and free of damage are highly prized by collectors, as they are harder to find and are considered much more desirable. Now, you might be wondering, how much could a 1964 Jefferson nickel be worth? Well, get ready for this. The value of these coins can be incredibly high, especially when they come with minting errors or are in excellent condition. Some of these rare and error-filled coins have sold for as much as $74,000. Yes, you heard that right, $74,000 for a single 5-cent piece. That's the kind of money you could be looking at if you happen to stumble upon a high-quality, error-filled 1964 Jefferson Nickel. What should you do if you come across a 1964 Jefferson nickel in your collection or in your pocket change? First, take a close look at the coin. Check for any signs of a double die or a misaligned die. Inspect the coin for high-grade condition. If it looks pristine, that's a good sign it could be worth more than just 5 cents. Even if you don't spot any minting errors, a well-preserved 1964 nickel can still fetch a solid price, especially if it's a rare variety. Whether you're an experienced numismatist or just starting out in coin collecting, the 1964 Jefferson nickel is definitely one to keep an eye on. Take your time, examine your coins, and remember that sometimes the smallest details can make a coin a true treasure. Who knows, the next 1964 Jefferson nickel you come across could be worth far more than you imagined. Today, we're taking a closer look at a coin you might not think too much of, the 1985 Jefferson nickel. It's easy to overlook this little 5-cent piece, but trust me when I say, this coin has some surprising value waiting to be uncovered. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, you'll want to stick around, because today we're diving deep into why this coin could be worth much more than you ever imagined. Now, let's start by taking a look at the basics of the 1985 Jefferson nickel. For those who aren't familiar, this coin is part of the Jefferson nickel series, which first debuted in 1938. The obverse, or front side, of the coin features a well-known portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. The design, created by artist Felix Schlag, has been part of the series since its inception, and Jefferson's image is surrounded by the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." On the reverse side, you'll see an image of Monticello, Jefferson's plantation home in Virginia. Monticello has been featured on the nickel for decades, serving as a symbol of the country's early history and Jefferson's significant influence on the United States. It's a design that remains timeless, and the simplicity of it is part of what makes this coin so iconic. But here's the real twist: the 1985 Jefferson nickel, although produced in large quantities and generally circulated, has certain characteristics that make it incredibly valuable to collectors. What many collectors and enthusiasts don't realize is that, like many coins, the 1985 nickel has some rarity factors and errors that can make it worth much more than its face value. Let's first talk about minting errors, which are one of the biggest reasons why this coin can be so valuable. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the coin production process, and the result is a coin that's different from the others. These errors are often seen as desirable by collectors because they are unique. After all, no two error coins are ever exactly alike. The double die error is one of the most famous types of errors that can appear on the 1985 Jefferson nickel. What happens in this case is that the coin's die was struck more than once, causing the image to be doubled. This results in a blurry or doubled appearance in certain areas, especially around Jefferson's portrait or the lettering. A double die error on the 1985 Jefferson nickel can significantly increase the value of the coin, especially if the error is clearly visible. It's this type of imperfection that can turn an ordinary nickel into a high-value collectible. Another potential error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is struck off-center during the minting process, causing the design to appear shifted to one side. A coin with an off-center strike can be a real treasure for collectors because it's something that doesn't occur very often. If you find a 1985 Jefferson nickel with a noticeable off-center strike, that could mean a big payday, as these coins are quite rare and highly sought after. Now, it's not just errors that can make the 1985 Jefferson nickel valuable, it's also the condition of the coin. Like most coins, the better the condition, the more valuable it is. Most 1985 nickels you find in circulation are worn down from years of handling. However, a high-quality, uncirculated version of the 1985 Jefferson nickel is something that serious collectors will pay a premium for. These coins are harder to come by, and their value rises significantly when they're kept in pristine condition, free from scratches, scuffs, or damage. But why is the 1985 Jefferson nickel so desirable? Well, the answer lies in the rarity. While the U.S. Mint produced millions of these nickels, only a small fraction survived in near-perfect or error-filled condition. Over the years, as more and more of these coins were circulated, those that were kept in great condition became harder and harder to find. This scarcity is what drives the price up for collectors who are looking to complete their sets with the best examples of the 1985 nickel. Now, you're probably wondering, how much could a 1985 Jefferson nickel actually be worth? Well, if you have one of these coins in excellent condition or, even better, a coin with a minting error such as a double die or off-center strike, you could be looking at a value of $57,000. Yes, that's right, $57,000 for a single 5-cent piece. That's the kind of money you could be sitting on if you happen to have a rare 1985 Jefferson nickel that's been carefully preserved or has one of those fascinating minting errors. So, what should you do if you come across a 1985 Jefferson nickel in your collection or in your pocket change? First, take a closer look. Inspect the coin for any double die errors or off-center strikes. Examine the condition. If the coin is still in great shape, you might be holding onto something valuable. And remember, minting errors are what make this coin so special, so always check carefully for any subtle imperfections that could increase its worth. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just beginning your journey into the world of coins, the 1985 Jefferson nickel is one coin that you'll want to keep an eye out for. You never know, that simple nickel you find in your change could turn out to be a rare, high-value coin that could change your collection, and your financial future, forever. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date on more exciting coin discoveries, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We've got plenty more rare and valuable coins to explore together. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting.